We're entering the penultimate final as we are going to discuss the final cards for Bermuda Triangle.
Stand up! Vanguard!
Hey Cardfighters, welcome back to another Cardfight update, and today we've got the final cards for VEB 15 Tiwnkle Melody, which finally puts an end to this year's fishing season. So without further ado, let's jump straight into these cards because we've got a couple of Bermuda cards collected together that were revealed in the last couple of days, so we can end this video and this series for once and for all. And because this is a mango mousse of different cards, we're gonna cover all kinds of archetypes in this video, and we're gonna start off with a great one for the new budget deck that is the Mirror Engine with Cheerful Smile Helga. And this great one has the abilities continues a Riviere circle. If you revealed Mirror's presence from your hand this turn, this unit gets power plus 5k. So she basically becomes a 13k booster or attacker once you enter your grade 3 turn, because that's when you are generating those mirror tokens and or markers. And that's about it. It's not really something special. We've seen many other great ones that can get an additional 5k power, only this is more restrictive because it specifically only works with Mirror as your Vanguard unit, so that is not that great. It just increases your power columns a little bit. But she also has a second column, which is Auto Rigard Circle. When its attack or the attack it boosted hits a Vanguard, costs counter plus 1 and draw a card. So we've got some more hit pressure with some extra draw power, which also improves the survivability or stall nature of the Mirror deck. But the fact that it's still behind an on-hit effect isn't all that great. This card I don't think will be that instrumental to the Mirror deck itself. It would have been amazing if the first ability wasn't restricted behind a continuous skill that only activates once, but would stack for every Mirror present you would reveal. That way there is an actual incentive to play this card over any other grade 1 that can gain an additional 5k power. Like the grade 3 Searcher is effectively better, but also as powerful as this grade 1. So if they at least would have made that skill stack multiple times, then that would have given Mirror some more pushing power to actually close games. So sadly, that's not the case, but who knows, maybe it's actually something you could use for your Mirror deck. Now, for the second card, we've got a great one, which was revealed in today's livestream, which is a new support card for the Highlander deck, which rounds up the Highlander engine to be a very nice, interesting deck in its own right. As we've got this great one, Popple Empathy Betty, and her ability is Auto Vanguard and Rigard Circle. When placed, reveal 7 cards from the top of your deck, and if all of the normal units revealed have different card names, put up to 1 card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. If you put a card, put up to 1 of the revealed cards in your hand, shuffle your deck. So this is basically a search card which allows you to swap any card in your hand with any cards from the top 7 in your deck. This is extremely powerful for the Highlander deck because there's a lot of potential that you can utilize this card for. First off, you can put important grade 3 or grade 4 hit targets that you want to hit with Reindeer back into the deck, so you can reload the deck over the course of a game. But it also allows you to put back triggers if you don't want to have them in your hand. But at the same time, this grade 1 also allows you to consistently get to your right targets itself or to your Reindeer, which is your most important card in itself. So we have the grade 3 Searcher, but we now also have this grade 1. And that is important because it's a Highlander deck, so we only run singletons. So the more of these Searcher cards we get, the better the deck will be in the consistency department. But interesting enough, even though it's a singleton strategy, we could utilize this skill multiple times in a single game, thanks to the inclusion of Aqua, as we can call this one on turn 1, maybe on turn 2, and then on our turn 2, we can write or call Aqua and bounce back Betty back into her hand to then use her again to once again get some more manipulation going on and more consistency to the whole playstyle. So I think Betty is a very nice addition. It's not enough for the Highlander build, but it's a very good start, or in this case, not really start because we already are going on the road, but this is a nice further stepping stone for the end goal for Highlander itself. So very nice card indeed. Now for the final cards that were revealed for Bermuda Triangle, I want to go over the main archetype legacy support cards for Pacifica, Coral and Riviere. And we're going to start off with the one for Pacifica with Expect Rhythm Viella. And this grade 2 has the ability Act on Vanguard and Rigard Circle once a turn if your Vanguard is top idle Pacifica or Expert Rhythm Viella, cost Counterblast 1 and put another rearguard on the bottom of your deck. And call up to 1 normal unit from your drop zone to the rearguard circle. Choose all of your rearguards until the end of your opponent's next turn. They get boost and cannot be chosen by your opponent's card abilities. This is incredibly powerful for the Pacifica deck, because not only do we have yet another card that allows us to call a Pacifica from the drop zone back to the field, so even more recursion onto the board itself, but it also allows us to put cards back into our deck, aka potential triggers, so we could trade a trigger from hand for a Pacifica from the drop zone. But I think the more important kicker about this card is the fact that she gives boost to all our units, so we can now boost with our Pacifica. This was possible with a grade 1, I believe Solda was her name, but you were dependent on drawing that grade 1 specifically. Now we also have this grade 2, so we could run them both to at least increase the potential of allowing us to boost with those Pacificas. But it also gives them hard resist to almost anything. The only way that your opponent can get rid of them is by undiscriminately board removal, and not a lot of clans have access to that. And because it's active until the end of your opponent's turn, you got 2 turns where you are safe. So in premium sense, you're safe from your opponent's G-Guardians, but you're also safe during their turn. So this is an incredibly powerful card for Pacifica, which 100% will be run at probably 4 copies. Now for the Coral grade 2, we've got Bear, Affliction, Rahel, and Rahel has the abilities Auto Vanguard the Rearguard Circle. When placed, costs Counterblast 1 and Soul Charge 3. If you soul charge a card with Coral in its card name, draw a card. So this is a pretty nice skill for Coral, as it's all around the soul engine, as you want to soul charge a lot of cards so you can soul blast them. So this is actually pretty damn decent. But the fact that you can also get a draw of it is also pretty good, and the chance that it will activate that skill is pretty likely, as you have 12 Coral cards that you're going to run in the Coral engine. So it's actually pretty damn good. But then she also has a second ability, which is Act on Rearguard Circle once a turn. If you have a Vanguard with Coral's card name, cost Soul Blast 2, countercharge 1, choose all of your rearguards and they get boost until the end of turn. This is really good, because we can basically use her first skill without actually losing resources, while we actually are gaining resources, because we can pay 1 counterblast, gain free soul, then use 2 of those free souls to get that counterblast back. So effectively we got 1 soul by just placing around to the field, and we could potentially draw a card while we did that. But on top of that, we also give all our units boost. So that means we can just place any grade 2s on the field or any grade 3s. And that's really good, because a lot of the grade 2s in Corals have a lot of powerful abilities where they can just pump their numbers up. So now we can actually make some really good columns. I think this card is really good in Coral, because don't forget, Coral is all about that bouncing effects of your cards back to your hands. So the fact that this interaction is behind an on-place effect doesn't mean anything for Coral, as you can just keep reusing it over and over and over again. And maybe with Aqua in the mix, you can even extend it even further. So yeah, this is a pretty damn good card for Coral as a whole. Now for the final card, that's of course the grade 2 for Riviere. And this is once again a very interesting card, as we have Sporty Idol Ines. And Ines has the ability Auto Vanguard the Rearguard Circle. When placed, cost Counterblast 1. Search your deck for up to 1 card with Riviere in its card name and the same grade as your Vanguards. Review it and put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. So basically, once you call her to the field, you could either get the Riviere grade 2 if you do it on turn 2, but probably the more impactful part is once you're already ridden into grade 3, you can search out your grade 3 Riviere. And that means you will always have the superior right target that you want to, because you want to go back into the grade 3, if you can ride into a Riviere and then call Ines to the side column. So this is another extra layer on top of the consistency engine that Riviere is known for. And yes, it costs a counterblast, but counterblast isn't the biggest issue of Riviere, because you have way more than you use, and also it's still a +1, so it's pretty damn fine in that regard. But she also has a second ability, which is nice to increase your power output, as this Act on Rearguard Circle. Once a turn, costs Soul Blast 1 with Riviere in its card name, and 1 of your units with Riviere in its card name, and this unit gets power plus 10k until the end of turn. So she becomes a 20k attacker, which is nice, but you can give your Riviere Vanguard potentially an extra 10k power, making your Riviere multi-attack Vanguard swings actually pretty damn good, because there's even more numbers behind it. But even though you could do that, I think the better play is to give this 10k power to the Rearguard Grade 2 Riviere. The reason for that is because that Riviere will restand. So you get 2 extra shots out of that 10k power. So by just soul blasting a Riviere, you effectively give 30k power to your field, which is really nice, as that doesn't really hamper your resources whatsoever, as you have more than enough soul as well as counterblast. So this is a nice addition to the Riviere engine to give it more consistency, while also increasing its power output, which is always welcomed in any type of deck. So as we've seen, the last cards for Bermuda Triangle are some nice quality of life upgrades to the respective archetypes, and I think this set introduces a lot of interesting mechanics, archetypes, and playstyles for whatever type of player you are. Even if you're not a Bermuda Triangle player, I think there are some interesting deck mechanics and concepts that they introduced in this set that will tickle the fancy of certain players that they might try to clan out, or at least those specific archetypes. I know that I'm definitely gonna take a look into those budget archetypes with the whole lyrical thing, with the boosting and intercepting kind of shenanigans, and the Highlander deck looks pretty damn sweet with the latest introductions, as well as the SP Reindeer looks pretty good. But of course, the last Bermuda Triangle reveals wasn't the only news that we've got today, because we now know for sure that starting next week, we're going to head straight into the clan selection plus volume reveals with some big announcements, as we're going to get this skill reveal of Spectral Duke Dragon as well as 2 other cards. It's very likely that those 2 other cards are the other 2 gold paladin cards, and everybody is speculating it's Vortimer, and I'm in the same ballpark as that. It's probably very likely that we're going to get 2 Vortimer reveals as well as Spectral Duke Dragon himself, which might interact with those Vortimer cards themselves. So very exciting times are right on the horizon after we leave this hellish seas behind us that is Bermuda season. But with that said, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of these new Bermuda Triangle reveals. Are you excited for what we've got with the new upgrades to Coral, Pacifica, Riviere, as well as Mir with that kind of like Luster grade 1, but a very interesting and potential powerful grade 1 for Highlander? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments section down below. This video has been brought to you by our lovely patrons over at patreon.com/VanguardInsider. You guys are amazing. If you want to support the channel or everything that's happening on the channel, you can simply go to patreon.com/VanguardInsider and become a patron today. But with that said, I'm Mr. Time Leap, and I see you guys in the next one.